There's more to the gut than we actually understand because we just really started to study the gut biome. But we know that raw milk is a fantastic gut biome food. Because if you think about breast milk and what its role is in the first food of life, and this is just like it, except for the specialized antibodies that mom makes for the baby. That's the only thing different. The rest of them are all practically the same. You start to understand the real powerful energy and nutrition that comes from raw dairy products, especially the fermented form. More pictures. Thank you, Kaylee. We also have some ground beef. If you ever get it, we sell it at our farmer's market. And that's whole cow ground beef. It's not just a cut coming from here and there. It's all the trim. So you get trim plus the filet mignon, everything all together. And you talk about a really, really good thing to make tacos out of. And then you add a raw cheese on top. That's awesome. Really good. Okay. I think that's it. Any questions? Any thoughts?
I have a question.
Sure.
So for, like I have a daughter who has a trouble with like absorption of calcium or vitamin D. What causes, is there like a benefit or what would cause this kind of milk to be better for her, maybe even absorbing in other kinds of milk that were heavily processed?
Sure. Well, I would take the word milk out of it and just think about the biome effects. Think about the physical structure, what's going on in the intestine itself. Think about what's going on in her little body. And you think about recovery from that, making it go back to genomically how it's supposed to function. That's where we're really talking about. So if you think about pasteurized milk, it's been denatured. There's 2,500 proteins found in breast milk and in raw milk, 2,500. Pasteurization denatures nearly all of them. Not all of them, but almost all of them. And they're finding more and more proteins all the time. That's the science they figure out there's 2,500 of them. For every protein, there's an enzyme. So some of those enzymes are created in our bodies through bacterial action. Bacteria make enzymes in your intestines. So it's just extremely complicated what's going on here. So if you start giving your child whole bioactive foods, the other systems start to work right. And the genetic information that's missing will start to say, hey, you idiot, do this. You're not supposed to do that, right? And literally they say idiot because they're not very smart without that additional information. We literally are dumbfounded going, what do I do next? I don't know what to do. Because we're missing the bandwidth of the biodiversity of bacteria. That's what the Human Genome Project told us. So we need to start feeding that gut with the information as well as the nutrition to be able to start functioning properly, repairing itself. And her little body will repair itself quite well. 99.9% of the time, I can guarantee you, she's going to have a great time. Now, there's 0.1% out there, I have no idea what might go wrong. But the bottom line is, you see children recovering dramatically when you give them the right food. So, hormone issues, thyroid issues, teeth, bones, all those kinds of things. Hippocrates said something very powerful 2,400 years ago. Hippocrates, ancient Greek doctor, he said, let food be a medicine and medicine be a food. All disease begins in the gut and do no harm. The Hippocratic Oath. Let me tell you what, if we could hear that more and more loudly, what a powerful, compelling directive. It may not fix it all, but I tell you what, when the biologists go to study the caribou migrations in northern Canada or in Alaska, and they find something going on with the caribou, they don't think that the reason behind something going wrong is because they're missing a cancer institute up there. They look at what the caribou eating, the environmental conditions that's changed their ecosystems, that's driven them to be different. Do you see doctors doing that in America? They do not see our nutritional inputs. They don't look at our conditions we're living in to see the origins of how you fix the herd, right? They go, well, let's build another hospital. And that doesn't fix the conditions of the food we're eating. So the veterinarians can actually tell us a lot. The biologists can tell us a lot about how we should be instructing our lives. Exercising is so important. Sunshine is really important. The conditions we live in. But the nutrition that occupies our gut and drives our biome are super, super powerful and very neglected and very not well understood right now because it's not part of the medical paradigm. In fact, I'll tell you a quick little lesson thing. I'm a pilot with the Flying Doctors of Mercy, and we fly to Mexico a lot and do clinic work. And there's a doctor who I will not name because I like the guy too much to name him right today, but he runs an asthma institute in Fresno. He makes millions and millions of dollars a year because 1 in 8 kids in Fresno has reactive airway disease, has problems with asthma, or something like asthma. He makes millions of dollars a year. I talked to him 12 years ago about doing a study saying, put a bunch of kids on raw milk versus your inhalers and Alupent and everything else, and see how it turns out. And he was on board. He was from Pakistan. He said, no, Pakistan, we don't have the asthma we've got here. We drink a lot of raw milk and raw milk cheeses, and it's just a different world. Well, we got up to the point where he had to talk to his partners about doing this. And his partner said, No way, we're not going to do that. It's going to ruin our business. So that's kind of, where my heart is ethics and doing well and preventing. And in 1962, our GNP dedicated, our gross national product dedicated medicine was 6%. Now it's in excess of 22%. So are we going the right direction? No, we're going the wrong direction. So it's a matter of waking up, being aware, and have people becoming very well educated to understand it's about the nutrition, it's about our gut, and redirecting the information, redirecting the process. And there's other things playing as other factors, but we're talking about the core factor is the biodiversity, the food to feed the bacteria in the gut are really key. And then water quality and air quality and all the other things all kind of combine on top of that. Antibiotic use is huge. Roundup, you can just add on your risk factors as you go. But we can't live a paranoid, stressed out life either. That's not good. So you have to start where you can. Exercising is really important, and good nutrition is where if you can do that, you're probably 95% there. You really are. So as far as your daughter's concerned, I would absolutely give her raw milk smoothies with antioxidants and all the goodies she likes. Stay away from the sugars so you don't have a lot of yeast. And get the building blocks of life back in your intestines, and you'll see a transformation. You will. Right behind me, there's a little girl that drinks our milk right back there, and she's thriving. Hi there, sweetie. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So I think one of the hardest things for people to kind of get over to start drinking raw milk, assuming that they do believe that it's safe and healthy and all
Correct.
that, is the difference in price.
Mhm.
People are used to spending $2-3 for a gallon of milk versus $16. It can be tough.
I'll give you two things. Go ahead. Finish
So I
up.
was going to say, I think it's really, to me, really obvious. There's so much more that goes into it, from the land, the skill of
testing,
farmers,
yeah.
people getting paid what they should be paid for their skill, all that stuff, the testing for bacteria, so all that kind of goes into it. But what about maybe some of the bigger economic factors like lobbyists, the politics that kind of influence what products get sold and what prices and how that kind of affects things?
Give you a couple things real quick. Dr. Bruce German, who is the foremost researcher of milk in the world, he's UC Davis International Milk Genomics Consortium founder. He's a Canadian, brilliant PhD at UC Davis here in California. He said, I just came through Sacramento International Airport and the water was more expensive than the milk. Literally, a little quart of water versus the milk was more expensive. Something's really wrong. Why did farmers put water in, put water through cows to get something out the other end? It's less valuable than the water itself. It was kind of a funny joke, but it made its point. In 1969, the dairy farmer was given about $1 per gallon for his milk, about $10 a hundredweight. So it was just about $1 per gallon for his milk in 1969. In 1969, the Ford truck that I drive today was worth you could buy it for about $3,900. Okay. Today, that Ford truck on sale is about $40,000, maybe more. Today, the farmers are being paid $15 a hundredweight. I'm talking about conventional farmers being for pasteurization, which is about $1.50 a gallon. They're going bankrupt left and right. We lost 8 dairymen a day last year in America. I'm sorry, 8 dairymen a day. Can you believe that? We're losing a dairyman a week right now in California. We're losing 2 dairymen a day in Wisconsin right now because of the massive oversupply of milk from these huge 30,000 cow CAFO operations. They're hoping and praying that all the little guys go out of business so they can run the show themselves. It hasn't worked very well. The Canadians have a completely different model called supply management. They're actually thriving with small dairies and doing quite well. Supply management actually doesn't require any contributions from the taxpayers whatsoever or any subsidies at all. No subsidies. The dairymen sit down at the provincial board and say, processors, how much milk do you need this year? And that's exactly what we're going to produce. We're not going to produce anymore. So they don't oversupply. And they also say, this is what it's going to cost plus 5% profit. And that's what they get. But they can't supply anymore because it actually gives them a quota that says, that's it. So there's no massive oversupply, but they supply with it. And by the way, the processors in Canada are the most wealthy in the world. And the consumers pay literally the same they do in the United States. Because it's smart and it's efficient. In the United States, you couldn't get 10 dairymen together to agree to do that. They fight each other like crazy. It's like indoctrination of 4 generations of just bloodthirsty cannibalization. And I do speeches on this all the time saying, band together, hang together, hang one by one. We can do it. We can follow Canadians. They've been down here to talk to us about this, and they can't get their act together. So it's really quite an ugly thing. At Organic Pastures Dairy, we are literally, this is something I'm very proud of, Clairville. Ever heard of Clairville Dairy? Okay. You know how expensive they are? They're $28 to $30 a gallon. We're at 16 to 17. We're certified organic and they're not. So they're in glass, we're in plastic. The bottom line is, I feel very comfortable with our price point because we actually meet and just barely break our profitability. And we're very sensitive to consumers because we know we can't be expensive because we're getting too expensive, people can't eat. So that's really important. But Clairol, been around since 1927, almost $30 a gallon with a $2 per glass deposit. So, you know, real whole foods are undervalued tremendously. And I've had moms come to me and say, you know what, I'm gonna get my own cow. And I said, sweetheart, knock yourself out. She came back the next year and said, I sold that cow. And I'm so damn glad you got milk because it's so cheap. Because cows die, cows get sick, you gotta breed them, you gotta milk them twice a day. They kick you, they got poop, they eat a lot. It's insane, right? So we do the very best we can. The price point is a very important thing to think about. But when people look at their asthma and the child going away and the kids don't get sick, that's priceless. And when you think about, okay, my Starbucks cost me $5 this morning, and the raw whole milk was $7.50, $8 a half gallon, and $16 a gallon. Yes, that's not cheap, but you're not buying something cheap. You're buying a truly incredibly powerful gut biome rejuvenating food that you can measure the results of in your own body and your own family, given just a few months of time. Very, very powerful.
Are you finding consumers are getting smarter about this though? Like,
Some of them,
but you don't see a growth in.
Oh yeah, we see growth.
Okay.
People are, it's kind of interesting. We started off, I'll tell you how Organic Pastures Dairy, bye-bye. Organic Pastures Dairy started in 2000. And I did not know that Altadena, which is a huge brand down here in LA, was producing lots of raw milk and being sold all over the place. But they sold to Dean's Foods for I think $40 million or something, and Dean's Foods stopped doing raw milk. So the Stoobies took their money and went up to Oakdale and built a little dairy and did their own thing up there. So there was no raw milk in LA in 1999. There were 6 months there was just virtually none. Clairol had a little bit of milk in a few stores, and that was it. So we got a phone call saying, hey, we heard you had an organic dairy, and you're the closest organic dairy to LA, because we're in Fresno, and all the other organic dairies are north of us. I said, yeah. Well, bring us some raw milk. I said, I don't have a bottling plant. I said, they don't care, just put it in a bottle and get it down here. So we had ice chests in the back of our Suburban. My wife and I packed up, I think, 150 half gallons of raw milk in plastic containers. We went and bought the plastic containers from, I think we got them from Oddwall or something. Came down here, and we drove into a little place called The Garage, and James Stewart was there. Drove in the back in Venice Beach, and there was uncounted numbers of people there. I don't know if it was 150 people or 80 people. The place was just packed with people. We drove in, and nobody asked to buy raw milk. They opened the back doors and jumped in and started grabbing raw milk and throwing $20 bills at us. I thought, what the hell just happened? The half gallons of milk were gone in 10 minutes. And I wasn't saying, here, take, it wasn't sales, it was throwing money, grabbing food. And when we got all done, it was like, look, we better close the door and leave this place, you know. So we closed the door. We didn't count the money until we got home. The place was just littered in $10 bills, $20 bills. We didn't count, we didn't care. It was this experience of connecting to people that desperately wanted raw milk. Well, that is the core of our market, the core. That's not the broader market, that's the core. So within a year or two, well, within the first year and a half, 18 months, we built a $2 million market immediately in the core stores in LA, selling our milk, and through James Stewart actually did the distribution with trucks. And then within a couple of years, we doubled, tripled that. Now we're at 13 million. But we also have 85 employees and 22 trucks. And we're producing about 30,000 gallons of raw milk a week, making butter, cream, cheese, and all kinds of stuff. We're subject to the Food Safety Modernization Act. We spent 4 days with the FDA going through everything you can imagine. So incredible amount of scrutiny and intense pressure. But at the same time, we know one thing. We have the moms and the families behind us 100%. If this milk was ever taken from them, God bless whoever did the taking. They'd rip their eyes out. They'd come unglued. We do know that there were hearings in Sacramento in 2008. Senator Dean Flores had the hearings for the Ag Committee. 1,400 people showed up in 3 hearings. There were more people that showed up for the hearings for raw milk than there were for the death penalty hearings. So those that oppose raw milk won't dare touch it. Because we have our Food Safety Act together, number 1. And number 2, nobody wants to mess with a mom. And it's like, I'm serious, they are a creature of nature. They will rip your eyes out. Don't mess with mothers. You love them and cherish them and feed them and leave them alone. Because they will take care of their baby cubs. Don't get between them, So that's the story on that. It's kind of powerful. Yes?
I have a similar question. I think that milk should cost based on, what they think, which is $3 to $5 a gallon. And really, it's not that expensive in light of your whole grocery budget, but it just seems that much more expensive because of the disparity between raw milk and regular. Other than education, is there anything you found be helpful to help people see that they're completely different products?
When we had the economic downturn in 2000, what was it, eight? People losing houses and jobs and everything going sideways. Our raw milk sales went through the roof because people were losing their insurance policies. And they said, this is the core we're talking about. But we gained like 12% in like 8 months because people were buying raw milk like crazy because they knew that if they didn't have health insurance, that'd be the one thing that would help them not get sick. And so it's a values thing. It's an understanding, educational thing. People go, they really don't understand the human genome. They don't understand the gut biome. They don't really understand the mechanism by which you get sick or healthy. And if you understood that, it becomes truly priceless. You would not do your Starbucks and you do something else so you would actually have that. I totally get it that it's expensive, but it's not when you talk about relative value at all. So it's one of those things where I can explain, I'll be more than, but we sell it like crazy. We have families buying 12 gallons a week from Visalia Farmers Market. They've got 8 kids and neighbors and stuff. But the value proposition, it's just one of those things where you have to restructure your mind what value is in terms of your health. Now, I can appreciate running a store here and say, that's insane, that $18 a gallon, that's nuts, Say, well, do you know about raw milk? Do you understand the gut biome? Do you understand what it's going to do for you and your family in terms of its value? And when your allergies go away and no longer taking various different drugs for allergies, and your asthma gets better, and you're pooping better, and you're sleeping better, and your metabolic rate changes, and you actually start losing weight instead of gaining weight, and things start to work right in your body, and you're eating a whole food diet, and raw milk's part of it, people's value concepts start to change in terms of what value that might be. So it is tough. I'm not suggesting it's not tough. But at the same time, being sick is very tough. If people recognize you can do something about it. A lot of people are brainwashed the fact that my wellness is associated with going to the doctor. It's not. It's associated with you and your performance as a human being and the choices you make. So that's a tough gear to shift. And it may not be for everybody. But I tell you what, really profound. At the farmer's market, we're selling milk at $15 a gallon like crazy all day long. And we have these moms that come up, I heard some really cool things about raw milk, but man, I don't know. Doesn't it have bacteria in it? I say, absolutely, it has very good bacteria, just like yogurt. And then you have she's standing over here talking to you about raw milk, this American mom. She's got her kids, they got snotty noses and ear infections over here. And you get this mom coming up who's got this broken Russian accent. Give me that raw milk like I got back home, and she's trim and fit and beautiful, and her kids are all healthy. I said, will you guys talk to each other? Because literally, it's a disconnect between our dogma we've been indoctrinated into in terms of what we believe health is, where we get our health, and health in America can be excused by the next ER visit or excused by the next drug you pop versus the personal responsibility you take and taking care of your genomics and your gut and your nutrition and health and exercise, which is a personal thing. And by the way, that's becoming very personal now when people start dying because of weakened immune systems and the fact that the news says it was the compromised immune system people that it got taken, not the others. So if you don't want to be in those numbers, it's the smart, intelligent, forward-looking thing to do is to build your immune system. It's not an answer for you, but it's a long-winded educational concept. And what you need to do is build your core. Build your core and then expand that core and use those core as your example of the good outcomes that can occur. Thank you.
Thank you. My daughter is drawing outside and how many she's gonna rock off. Yeah.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Yes, sir.
It's interesting to hear about Altadena because back when we had our kids, back in the 80s, we did the raw milk and had it delivered from Altadena.
Yep.
This is my daughter. She grew up on raw milk. And it was interesting because we were one of the only ones back then that did raw milk. I think we had a red X on our front door. The same thing. And everyone's like, you're crazy. It's so dangerous to have raw milk. There's so much bacteria in it. It's so bad for you. But we never had a problem with it.
Yep.
So my one question is, back then in the day, in the 80s and everything, was raw milk about the same? Was it less safe or about the same as it is now?
You have to look at raw milk in perspective. Go back to the 1890s, 1880s. People started moving off the farm into bigger cities. They took their cows with them. A great example is the Boston Commons. It was a grass place in the 1700s became a muddy hole in the 1800s because people were bringing their cows in and pasturing them, and they ran out of pasture, they started confining them, and there was no flushing toilets, no fresh water, and the cows were being fed brewers' distillers' grains from the brewery, because that's the only thing they had to feed them. And the cows did okay on it, not too great. The milk wasn't actually white, it was kind of light gray blue,
Yes.
ugly. And that was filthy milk, and that milk didn't get chilled very well. And this is 130, 140 years ago. This is 1870s, 1880s. That milk would kill 80%, no, excuse me, 40% of people that would consume it, 40%. 80 was twice a year. 40% of people who consume that would die on a yearly basis. It was horrendous. So Strauss brought in the parboiler, which is the early form of pasteurization, cooked the heck out of it, and you only had 10% of people dying because it was a water quality issue with typhoid fever and stuff. So yeah, we had this filthy problem in downtown New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago, even in Russia, there was, in Europe, this was going on, where you had these filthy downtown dairies. And there was milking thousands of cows, and the people themselves milking the cows had tuberculosis. It was disgusting, it was a mess. The milk that was out in the countryside, where you had the rolling grasslands and clean water and sunshine, that was going to the Mayo Clinic and actually used on protocols to heal people. So you can see there's a major polarity here between filthy milk killing people and healthy milk from good conditions that are actually helping people. But they didn't have good chilling and they didn't have good transportation. So raw milk is the ultimate local food. The cow in the backyard. Well, when people didn't have the cow in the backyard anymore, and you lost that localness, and people were no longer farmers, they went to the city, you have major disconnects in logistics of distribution and processing. So that's why processing became really popular, because you can render anything safe by cooking the heck out of it. And it became a cheap alternative.
Well, we never got sick.
No, but what would be the marketing battle against raw milk? Oh my God, we've known for 100 years that it kills everybody.
Yeah, I've heard
That's
that
the
before.
story. That's the story. And it's a true story back from the 1880s. But recently, I'm sorry, 84 people have died from pasteurized milk, and you got 0 from raw milk. There's been some illnesses, absolutely, and it comes from E. coli. We can now test E. coli. By the E. coli emerged in 1979, 1980 with the whole Burger King incident with ground beef. And the fact that antibiotics are being put in. Anytime you push a bacteria hard with antibiotics, they're going to adapt and overcome because they don't want to die. Life on Earth is about bacteria. And so if you killed bacteria on Earth, we'd cease to exist pretty quickly. So bacteria adapt and overcome, like a good U.S. Marine. Like, if they come this way, we're going to get over here, so we'll get shot, right? Well, these antibiotic-resistant bacteria are superbugs because they've adapted and resisted and overcome. Well, they do the same thing. Superbugs are hard to kill with antibiotics now because you have this resistance. And E. coli 157A7 was one of those born out of that antibiotic-resistant time period. So that said, it's now the age of building strong immune systems. It's stopping creating more superbugs because let's stop challenging them. Let's start working with them and understanding them. Now we know, the Human Genome Project told us. Now we know that if you need antibiotics, and believe me, as a paramedic, antibiotics are life-saving, but they won't work unless you stop abusing them. Leave them in reserve so if you ever need them, they work. If you use them too much, they won't work. So it's a challenge. I know the Stuveys very well. They owned Altadena. The Stuveys were challenged with mostly salmonella back then, but they didn't have an organic environment. They had big CAFO operations of thousands of cows, and they did a good job. Not a lot of people got sick or anything, but it was just one of those challenges where